Hey guys, another quick setting Sunday. I shot a different video here and I rambled too long. I just try to like keep your time, you know, time is valuable. So, real quick, just to touch on this, I know I mentioned last time that this book is laid out very strange. It is. It talks later on after all the stuff that we already went through. It talks about flavors of fantasy. And you don't have to follow this stuff to a T. But I do want you to know that what I'm going for personally is more of a sword and sorcery kind of thing. So, which this is kind of interesting. It starts out with like a grim, hulking fighter disembowels the high priest of the serpent god on his own altar. That is something that, we have set as in our pantheon. It's kind of strange. A laughing rogue spends ill-gotten gains on cheap wine and filthy taverns. Hardy adventurers venture into the unexplored jungle in search of the fabled city of golden masks. So that's kind of what I'm going to go for. I love jungle settings as well. It kind of talks about how fighter rogues and barbarians are going to be more common than wizards, clerics, or paladins. And I agree. Also, magic is very dangerous. And then up here, it talks about like a little excerpt with like flavors of fantasy. So I really like Clark Ashton Smith, and I really like Robert E. Howard, and it's cool that they mention both of those authors up here, because those actually like the biggest inspirations on me are probably Clark Ashton Smith and Robert E. Howard, as well as like maybe, I don't know, Michael Moorcock recently, or just mythology in general is also a big influence on me. So that's kind of like where the setting's going to be going. Go ahead and talk about where we stopped last time. We stopped at the factions. Not going to like go super into this today because I haven't. It takes more getting into than I have spent into it. However, I did talk about some of the ancient cultures and stuff. So to touch last time on what's going on here, we have gods who are warring constantly. And they may or may not even touch, your players may or may not even touch the deity stuff, which is fine, because the rest of it is there's an untamed wild world full of powerful monsters and old ancient ruins and ancient civilizations. There's also constant conflict and war with patrons paying for stuff, okay? So to keep that in mind, these three specifically, wild old ruins and war with ancient civilizations. To kind of get into some of that, there's going to be ancient old currency that people can get into when they go to these ruins and stuff. So with some of that stuff in mind, so I've worked on a little bit of stuff today, and this is just some of the stuff I worked on just to show you. So we have ancient cultures here. Snake men. Okay, also I should say that all these ancient cultures are currently existing. They're still around. It's just they used to be the dominant force in a certain area, and they no longer are. So, snake men, dwarves. If you've ever played Morrowind, I kind of want there to be a lot of dwarven ruins and very few dwarves. So you can go into a mountain and there's a dwarven ruin, and they're not there. Elves, same idea as what I just said with the dwarves, just elvish ruins. Similar, I guess, to like Oblivion, or I guess Skyrim. I don't know if Skyrim had the elvish ruins or not. Giants would be more common back in the day, and then Atlantean. So these are some of the ancient cultures. I would like for you guys in the comments to maybe suggest a sixth, because when I'm rolling up ruins, I would just like to roll a d6, and then I'd figure out where the ruin came from. That would be pretty cool. So also keep in mind, now that I mentioned the sword and sorcery and all this stuff and Robert E. Howard, I just kind of decided to go full bore into Robert E. Howard. Let me make sure you guys can see this. Sorry about my scribbles again, but went full bore into the Robert E. Howard stuff, and halfway through me writing down different human cultures, I just switched to Robert E. Howard stuff. So I went ahead and to beside, I kind of switched them and stuff. So essentially, we have the Norse, the Romans, the Greeks, the Egyptians, and the Mongolians. And then I wrote down the names that Robert E. Howard has for these guys beside there. So the Aesir, the Numidians, the Corinthians, the Stygians, and I can't pronounce this, Hyrcanians. And I kind of just want to lean into that. So what that tells me as this map that we haven't made yet is going to be looking similar to like the Mediterranean Sea. That way you can go to Stygia after being in Numidia, or whatever. Or you can travel north and go to Asgard, or you can travel east and go to the Mongolia area. So that's something I would really like to do. If you have more suggestions on this, feel free to comment on that as well. I'm just going full bore onto it. So not only is this is the current like human population, there's still dwarves and elves around, and also halflings, but they are very rare. And they're still around, like I said, but then they're accepted of being around, but they're very rare. And there's also like, obviously, the standard monsters, orcs, goblins, whatever. So now that's just kind of what I'm going for with that. Now, factions. I didn't really write too many factions. I do kind of want to talk about some stuff. This was a suggestion in one of the last videos. A secular order of knights that get paid to go to these ruins to get certain powerful artifacts to sell off to whoever's paying them, whatever culture is currently paying them. I just call them the Knights of Blackwater. Maybe it's too on the nose, maybe not, I don't know. But the Knights of Blackwater are a mercenary group that get paid to go into these ruins. They don't care what ruin they're going into. They don't care they don't care about the deities. They don't care about any of that. They want to go to the ruins. They want to get paid. The other factions might be some of the schools of magic. So there might be like a magical orders that are kind of hush-hush, or maybe not. They're not Hogwarts, but the different schools of magic could be at different countries. So like Stygia might be more of a dark magic place with the deity being set. And, maybe it's more a necromancer kind of thing in Stygia. Maybe just different stuff like that. And I didn't really think about it too much, so I put the question mark there, but just different schools being in different areas of the location. And then wizards, players that are playing wizards, driving some of the adventure, saying like, I want to go learn from this school, so we need to go here. And then that's kind of like a patron is the master of that school, and then you have adventures off of that. Okay, deity-driven factions, obviously, that goes without said. I already kind of talked about that a lot. Other stuff might be, since I want to do Mediterranean stuff, is pirates and navy. Okay, I kind of want to have a lot of boats. That would be really cool. And then also, the starting point of all this, if we flip back, actually, before we flip, with all this population stuff, languages and dialect, so we're going to have Ancient Dwarvish, Ancient Elvish, Ancient Atlantean, Snakemen language. We'll have the Asgardian language, Numidian language, different things like that, and I think that'd be pretty cool just to lean into that a little bit more. But yeah, they're going to have all their old currency and different things, ruins, whatnot. Okay, so here we go. Settlements. So I had to flip backwards for this, and we're still not mapping it out yet, but this is kind of like the starting settlement idea, and it asks, what is the purpose of serving your game? So the area that we're going to be starting at, it could be a town that's adjacent to this or something like that, but the idea of the free city, and I don't have it named yet, the free city of bleh. So I kind of have an idea named it Imperia. Don't know if I want to name it that or not, but it's the free city. You can comment a name if you would like to, just because we are making this together. Especially since like the Knights of Blackwater was 100% a comment that drove that. That was really cool. So the free city is not going to be governed by any of the other governments, and the free city is a trade center between all these other countries. And it is something where maybe the Knights of Blackwater might even be, because they're not loyal to a certain deity or a certain sect. They're just there. So the free city is where everybody can go and trade, and you can meet a variety of population of elves, dwarves, Romans, Stygians, Norse, whatever you need to do. You can meet them at the free city, and you can get stuff done with trade and just, whatever you need to do there. So we'll just look at some of these questions. What purpose does it serve in your game? I just mentioned all that stuff. It's also a starting point for the players. How big is it and who lives there? I don't know how big it is, but I just told you who lives there. Who governs it? I don't know that yet. It governs itself, but I don't know who the government is or anything like that. I don't know who holds power or anything. We need to we'll roll all that out, or you can make suggestions. What are the defenses? Again, we'll have to figure that out. I'm thinking it's going to be a port city. So since it's a port city, the Navy will be part of the defense there. Which, if it is a port city, that means that the pirates are going to be pretty interesting there too. So you'll have knights and pirates and all kinds of different stuff. Where do they go to find goods and services? That's kind of like all self-explanatory. Don't really need to get into that too much. So that's pretty much it. But if you guys have any comments on anything like that, we can roll on all this stuff, because actually I just want to show you how weird this place is, how weird this book is laid out. We have mapping your campaign and then mapping like this idea here. And this is on page 14 and 15. Then you flip all the way. We're still flipping. You flip all the way to 108, and then you got mapping wilderness. And yeah, there's a dungeon right there. And then mapping a settlement is on 114. So this is 14 and 15, and then mapping a settlement is on 114. So to just give you an idea of how strange that is. So anyway, that's what we're going to be doing. And one last thing, I said that I was going to be using just those two books with the Player's Handbook and the DM's Guide. However, it really is a 4-book game, because for like names, you got Egyptians right here for the Stygians. There's Norse in here as well. Just different. So this would be an easy naming. This is an easy chart to name all this stuff. Romans. There's Greeks in here as well. And then also, there's these really cool, if you watch my other videos, there's these really cool encounter tables. And we can use these for the players that adventure around and stuff like that. So, anyway, that is the setting episode 2 on a Sunday. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Should be back next Sunday, and hope to see you guys then.